And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Summit of the Gods, a new Netflix original French animated movie based on a manga series which was based on a book that had a film live action adaptation from the manga adapted a few years ago. And this animation film started way back in 2015. But is it any good? Let's find out. A photojournalist's obsession quest for the truth about the first expedition to Mount Everest leads him to search for an esteemed climber who went missing. So this animated story focuses on Habu the climber and Fukumachi the journalist. It's a very interesting story because it's kind of two stories in one. The animation, for one, will stand out to you from the get-go. It reminds you of a Studio Ghibli film. It's attention and detail to love. You can see what has taken them so long. I know originally back in 2015 when they started putting this together, they had ideas of maybe doing it in 3D, but for the most part they stuck to the 2D, and I'm really glad they did because the visual style of it is perfect for this sort of storytelling, the adventure tale with the landscapes that are all in the Alps with the Everest mountains there in Kathmandu. I've been there myself and it was very, I guess, true to life. It very much feels like you're there. It's a film that you're going to want to watch right until the end and then listen to the score as it goes, as the credits starts flying about on the screen, because you're kind of thinking about what you just experienced and what happened and what was the message behind the story. Also, the score is very impressive, so it's just great to listen to those credits as they roll. The two stories, basically we have the journalist who wants to find out about what happened on Everest, and then he gets kind of intertwined into this other story about this climber who had something happen to him, and ever since then he hasn't been the climber that he wants to be. He's been obsessed with this thing that he needs to do and wants to then go and climb Everest, and spends 8 years prepping for it until eventually the day comes he's going to try and climb it. And then we have this journalist photographer who's going to follow him and try and detail his journey to capture that kind of climb that's obviously going to be epic. What this film manages to encapsulate is exactly how it feels climbing one of these mountains. You're going to feel like you're cold and want to put more layers on. You're going to feel through the sound effects and the visual storytelling and the score, you're going to feel out of breath as they reach different levels. You know how you need to train at different various levels without oxygens, because you're going to get headaches because of the lightheadedness. And then there's like the death zone where you shouldn't spend time there at all because you spend too much time there, you're a goner. So it kind of showcases exactly what it takes to be one of these climbers, but also the mentality of who does these sort of climbs. It's a very select people. I would say obsession is probably the correct, but it's more than that. If you feel like your calling in life is only to climb and you're only happiest when you're on a mountain, then that's the sort of people that this is kind of showcasing. There's the story, what it means to them, the reason behind it. It's more than wanting to be the first to do a certain type of climb. A lot of people have done Everest, but have everyone done these other routes that are like harder or different, or the different peaks, what that takes? And so it's a very interesting way to showcase what actually goes into it. In amongst that, we have a very emotional and tense story. There are moments I was holding my breath because there was stuff on screen that you're like, ooh, are they going to survive? Are they not going to survive? Obviously, in this type of story, there's always those harrowing climbs. But if you're not into a sort of film that you see a lot of people climbing for most of the film, then that might not be for you. But for me, I love that. I have been climbing some tough stuff back in the day when I was fit and I wasn't as heavy as I am now. But it's something that just evokes adventure, and that's why I was so thoroughly entertained. And you could see the love, the art style that they use to kind of bring forth that adventure that they want to evoke, that tension on screen, those moments when you're watching and you've forgotten that you've been holding your breath. That is perfect storytelling, which I can really attest to because I did that a number of times during this film. Its original language is in French and there will be subtitles. I watched 3 times various versions. So I watched the first bit in French with the subtitles, and that was fine. Then I flicked over to the English, and that was actually surprisingly done well. The dubbing is actually good, so if you don't like reading subtitles, I think you'll be fine. You don't lose too much. But then I flicked over back to the subtitles. I think I'm going into my American accent. I don't know why. And that was best because you do get the nuances from the actors, from the voice actors that were originally doing it, that it was created for. So if you can, I always suggest going to that original. But for the most part, I don't think you will lose anything. I was thoroughly entertained. There was no bit in this film that I thought dragged on too long. The pacing was just right. Sometimes you're not on the mountain and it's kind of giving you a backstory about the characters, the type of psyche you've got to have as a climber, giving a little bit of background to the story that we're following of these two characters. It has a tenseness to it, but there's also a profound sadness, and the film is aware of what it takes and often what happens to climbers in these situations. It kind of tackles why people do that, and just, you know, the mere fact that you're doing this, you're taking your own life into your hands, and the death is a very big probability. No matter how much you've trained, Mother Nature will just, you know, it is unforgiving. It doesn't care who you are, will kind of throw things at you, avalanches, winds over 200 miles an hour, no air to breathe, just you name it, up there in the mountains. It doesn't care, it just is. And that's part of the adventure and the story that they showcase within the story that's been told in various versions before. Do love the art style. I think it really comes alive in the storytelling here. Definitely one to watch. I'm going to give this 5 Nicolas Cages out of 5. For me, there's nothing more I wanted from this. It's a perfect animated story that I'll definitely watch again. It's up there for me with films like Everest, the documentary Solo film. If you want to see somebody free climbing and be really tense again, that's a fantastic film called Solo. This one was very, very entertaining for those people that love climbing, but also for those people that just love a good tense story. I think it's emotionally engaging and definitely one to check out. Let me know your thoughts below. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.